They say mirrors show us who we are. But what happens when the mirror stares back and sees more than we ever dared admit?
Black Mirror doesn't try to shock with noise. It speaks quietly, almost offhand. And maybe what makes it unsettling is not what it shows, but how closely it resembles the world we already know. In the world of Black Mirror, the boundary between technology and humanity dissolves. It's a show that captures not just the potential of the digital age, but also its darker shadows. In every episode, there's a haunting prediction, not of a future shaped by some foreign force, but by our own choices. In many ways, Black Mirror serves as a warning, a chilling reflection of what we're becoming, not as individuals, but as a society. What happens when we allow technology to merge with the very essence of who we are? What happens when we lose control? Black Mirror taps into the postmodern condition described by thinkers like Jean-François Lyotard, who argued that in a world dominated by technology and media, grand narratives no longer hold. The truths we once held onto are fragmented and replaced by a mosaic of personal experiences, all amplified by the constant presence of digital tools. Take Be Right Back, for example, where grief becomes a program, a line of code trained on absence. A chatbot recreates a woman's deceased lover, not bringing him back but mimicking him, down to his laugh, his words, his every nuance. Yet, no matter how perfect the simulation, it's never him. It's not love. It's a hollow imitation of it. The dead, we're reminded, cannot text you back. And in Junipero, the concept of immortality is explored. People upload their consciousness to live forever in a digital afterlife. But is this truly living? Or just existing in a server, trapped in a limbo of ones and zeros? The afterlife here isn't about pearly gates. It's about cold, sterile archives, where your existence is determined by the company paying the bill. White Christmas takes this even further, showcasing a form of punishment that's not eternal fire, but eternal silence, repetition, and solitude. Hell, in this world, is not a fiery abyss, but a meticulously crafted prison. It's coded by people sitting in white rooms, controlling the fate of those trapped within their algorithms. The horror here is not the presence of a malevolent force, but the chilling realization that it's all designed by those who seem to care. The idea of consciousness as a malleable construct is also explored by the likes of Donna Haraway, whose Cyborg Manifesto invites us to reconsider the human-machine relationship. In a world where consciousness can be uploaded and replicated, what happens to the idea of a true self? Beneath Black Mirror's dark storytelling lies a well of philosophical reflection. The series doesn't just explore technology, it explores us. It shows what happens when humanity's deepest fears and desires meet the power of digital technology. Take Jean Baudrillard's concept of simulation. In a world full of images and representations, there's no longer any truth, only an illusion of it. Black Mirror constantly asks, what happens when our lives become simulacra? When we no longer experience life directly, but through the lens of a screen? It channels Baudrillard's thoughts, showing us that the images we project of ourselves on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, are not the truth of who we are. They're carefully curated simulations, created for an invisible audience. The series also draws from Michel Foucault's ideas on surveillance and control. In Nosedive, society is controlled not through brute force, but by a carefully calibrated system of public ratings and social pressures. People are no longer just evaluated for their actions, but for their performances. Performances of happiness, of love, of success. The entire system exists to create a hierarchy, not through visible power, but through invisible, omnipresent judgment. The result? People become trapped in the spectacle, where their identity is reduced to a score that others can manipulate. And then there's Nietzsche, whose philosophy echoes through the darkness of Black Mirror. His warning that, if you gaze long enough into the abyss gazes back, is felt most strongly in 15 Million Merits, where characters are trapped in a world where every aspect of their life is a performance, where hope is a commodity and escape is merely another form of commodification. Black Mirror forces us to ask, what happens when we gaze into technology too long, when our phones, our screens, and our algorithms start to define us? Additionally, Black Mirror resonates with the ideas of Simone de Beauvoir, particularly in 15 Million Merits, where individuals are commodified and dehumanized. Explored in Black Mirror's digital world, where one's identity is shaped, reshaped, and continuously performed to the point where the self is no longer a stable concept. In Black Mirror, identity becomes fluid, curated, manipulated, and commodified. It's no longer a question of who you are, but how well you perform, how well you present yourself to the world. In episodes like Nosedive, where a woman's every interaction is rated by others, the reality of human connection is lost in a sea of metrics and numbers. You are no longer just a person. You are a product, a performance. And in this digital theater, the audience is always watching. The pressure to perform is constant, and it's never enough. We've seen it before in social media and beyond. The smile is currency. A frown can lead to financial ruin. A single misstep, a moment of vulnerability, and your entire life can be shattered. In a world like this, authenticity is a luxury few can afford. This theme connects to the work of Judith Butler, who argued that identity is not a given, but rather a performative act. In Black Mirror, this idea is pushed to its extreme, where the performance is no longer just part of one's private life, but a condition for survival in a digitally obsessed society. But Black Mirror isn't just disturbing because of its themes. It's also unsettling because of its aesthetic. Every setting is hypermodern, sterile, and empty. The world in Black Mirror is a clean, antiseptic place, a place where everything reflects back on itself, but nothing feels truly alive. This world is a place of absence, a place where everything is perfectly arranged, but there is no warmth. There is no soul. It is a world that feels both hauntingly beautiful and deeply dead. The horror in Black Mirror isn't just about decay. It's about the absence of life. The spaces are too perfect, too polished. The people are too perfect, too curated. And in that perfection, we find the true terror. The realization that we are living in a world that is increasingly empty. A place where human connection is replaced by performance, where memory is digitalized, and where the soul is something that can be replicated, but never truly recreated. This stark, cold aesthetic ties into Theodor Adorno's ideas on the culture industry, where the mass production of culture leads to the death of individuality and authenticity. In the world of Black Mirror, every image and setting feels like a product of that industry, a perfect illusion that ultimately distances us from the rawness of true human experience. What makes Black Mirror so terrifying isn't just the technology, it's the us in it. The series doesn't blame technology, it blames us. For what we've allowed to happen, for what we've become. The technology in Black Mirror is just a reflection of our darkest tendencies. We've allowed ourselves to be exploited. We've allowed ourselves to be controlled by the very systems we created. Black Mirror doesn't offer answers. It doesn't offer solutions. Instead, it offers questions. Uncomfortable, painful questions about what we're doing to ourselves. Why do we record every moment, only to forget it? Why do we crave validation from invisible people who will never know us? Why have we allowed machines to dictate how we love, who we punish, and who we are? At the end of it all, Black Mirror isn't just a show. It's a prophecy. A prophecy that's already starting to come true. Microsoft is resurrecting the dead through AI chatbots. China's nosedive social credit system is already banning millions from traveling. Armed robot dogs patrol war zones. Season 7 of Black Mirror reveals the darkest predictions yet to come true. In episodes like Eulogy, characters use technology to relive the past, walking through memories once lost. In Common People, life-saving medical treatments become subscription services, with prices escalating beyond reach. In Plaything, humanity succumbs to control through brain interfaces. And in Hotel Reverie, virtual worlds become prisons of the mind. It's not just science fiction anymore. It's our reality. And it's only going to get darker from here. This was Black Mirror, a reflection of who we are. A warning, yes, but more importantly, a confession.